got a bit of a an
What?
echo to you. Are you
And
using a different
really,
microphone?
I'm talking to you through AirPods, but
Okay.
I don't know. The room's not any more echoey than last show. It is the echoey room, though.
Don't have your soundproofing up everywhere yet?
No, I do, but it's just... Oh, no. No, the short answer is no. But the long answer is it is up everywhere, but it's still just leaning on stuff. I've made a small improvement. There's a rug on the floor now, but there's no soundproofing attached
Okay.
to the walls.
Well, the rug is a big difference if you can cancel out the hard floor.
Mm-hmm.
But need to get some nice, like, when I buy an actual house and I stop renting, I'm going to move away from I've got like the smallest sound canceling foam you can get, like the 1-inch thick stuff. I'm going to move to like 2 or 3 inches because I think that'll make a bigger difference.
I've been wondering if it's the thickness or like the weight of the foam because, yeah, like you, I think I've got the cheapest of the cheap soundproofing foam. It's probably only an inch thick. But like, I think I looked into soundproofing a car once and it was much thinner than that, but a lot heavier. So maybe it's more to do with the density of it rather than the thickness. Or maybe it's both.
Yeah, and I don't know, soundproofing a car is a little bit different, right? Because you're trying to stop sound from going through, whereas what we're doing here is like trying to stop it from like echoing back at you.
Yeah, both are absorbing the sound.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, car soundproofing is generally very thin, so maybe there is some very special material they're using.
So the echo, can you still hear it?
No, it's not bad. It's just, I don't know, more pronounced than what I was used to hearing.
Okay.
But it's not like stopping me from having a conversation with you. And it's not the audio that's being recorded, so it really doesn't make a difference.
You do have high standards in audio though, so I don't know. If it gets in the way of our conversation, just let me know. We can cut things short.
Okay, yeah, if my ears start bleeding, I'll let you know.
Yeah, okay.
How is your move going otherwise? Are you unpacked and settled at all yet?
Yeah, Yasmin made sure of that. She was very efficient. That German efficiency coming through. She just went at it relentlessly until the last box was unpacked. Even like my boxes of like my personal stuff were the last to be unpacked, and my plan was like, oh yeah, over the next few weeks I'll slowly unpack it and find spots for all this stuff. Nope. She unpacked it all and put it where she thought it would go, and I can move it around as I see fit after that. But every last box had to be out of the house as quickly as possible.
I get it. Yeah. You just want to be settled and be done and not have to be constantly worrying about unpacking boxes for the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, makes total sense.
Although if I still had some boxes in the office, maybe they'd be soaking up some of this sound.
You should have just kept the boxes and stacked them around.
That's not a bad idea. Sadly, they're all gone now. She even, like, once the boxes were unpacked, she flat packed them and then put them on the local Buy Nothing group, and they were picked up the next day. So I don't even have the boxes anymore.
So you have no anticipation of needing boxes in the near future, huh?
Apparently not.
All right.
Well, like, why do you want to keep boxes around, just in case?
Well, I guess as someone who moves every year or two, keeping boxes makes sense. But in your position, now that you've just bought something and settled down, it's probably less of a need to keep around.
Yeah, I suppose.
What if you want to make box forts for like Johannes and Paul? Now you can't make them a big fort.
No, we'll have to resort to pillow forts or blanket forts or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or just buy a few things off Amazon. I don't know. What comes in a big box and doesn't cost much?
And doesn't cost much? Oh, I don't know.
Soundproofing foam. There you go.
That could be pretty pricey, but yeah, you can definitely get those in big boxes.
Yeah.
My problem was when I got my soundproof foam delivered a few years ago, it did come in like a refrigerator-sized box because I ordered it all at once. But the delivery truck, it was in the middle of winter, it got delivered, and I guess snow and stuff melted on the floor, so the box was soaking wet, and all my foam was was wet, and I had to like leave it to dry out before I could use it.
Gross.
Yeah.
Did your new car come in a box?
Oh man, I got quite a story about my new car.
Yeah, how did you like that segue? Because I knew
Flawless.
you had a story. Yeah.
So no, my new car came on a delivery trailer, and they dropped it off, and picked up my new car and left, and it was very seamless, very quick. I just signed a few papers. I went on a short test drive around the block to make sure that, it would move and there wasn't making any weird noises, and it all seemed okay. So I signed the paperwork and they were gone. And then that evening, after like my dad got off work, I brought it to him because he's a big car guy, and he's really good at spotting anything wrong with a car. So I had him walk around it, and immediately he like starts pointing at like, oh, this is repainted and this has been polished and there's like damage here, and
Oh no.
and it's like it's obviously been in a collision and like not repaired well. And at the same time, over that course of that first day, I noticed the air conditioning wasn't working in it. So I think any one of those issues on their own, I would have like just made a claim with Carvana, because they'll fix those things for you if you find issues like air conditioning or body damage or whatever. They would generally have repaired that. But those things combined, where it obviously been in a crash and not repaired well, and there's things that aren't working under the hood, made me worried about like, what else is potentially damaged, or is, I just haven't found out it's broken yet, or is going to break in the near future. So I ended up just having them come back out and take it back, because they had a 7-day like guarantee where they could just take it back for no extra charge and get my money back. Which in this context is a little weird. What does money back mean? I had to trade in, so the pickup person that came to take my car back didn't know how I was going to get my money, and so while she was there taking the car back, she called the head office to ask them about my money, and they seemed confused about the whole situation, because they were under the impression that I still had my Ford, and like, yeah, just take the Ford and we'll send you a check. I was like, no, you already have my car. When am I going to get my money back?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, they took it back, and it was a little bit of a headache and a few days of worry about getting the money back, because they picked it up on a Friday morning. And so basically no progress was made over the weekend. And then I called them on Monday to ask about it, and was on hold for over an hour with them to be told that we'll call you back when we know what's going on. And so I got a call Tuesday morning, and they said, your check was mailed yesterday. And then that same day I got my check in the mail, and it was for the full amount, which was good. I was a little worried at that point with all the issues I'd had with the car they sent me that was guaranteed to be not in a collision, which obviously it was, that they were going to either give me a hard time about the car that I traded in and say it was in worse condition and they weren't going to pay me as much, or they were going to try to blame me for the damage to the car they delivered. But neither of those things happened. And in fact, they didn't even take out the delivery fee, which was supposed to come out no matter what. So I actually got more money than I was expecting from them.
Nice. What was that fee? What do they charge for the delivery?
It was $3.50 for delivery.
Not insignificant.
No, it wasn't. So yeah, I was happy to have that. But it definitely turned me off from the idea of, because I had the option of either returning my car or just choosing to swap it out with another car that they had. But you can only do that twice. So if I wasn't happy with the car that I got the second time, if I tried to swap it out again, I could get a third car, but then I would get no guarantee or warranty on that third car. I just have to keep it no matter what at that point. So I decided that wasn't worth the headache. It wasn't worth risking maybe other damage that's just a little less obvious on the next car, and so I don't find out for a month instead of, the same day. So I went the old-fashioned route of going to dealerships and buying cars, back to the 20th century way of buying a car.
How awful.
It in the current market, it was very awful, actually. I spent a whole day driving to every dealership within like a 50-mile radius of me, because with the chip shortage going on right now, it's really impacted car manufacturing as well. And all the lots were empty. Like if I got to test drive a car and liked it, and I went into the dealership because I really wanted to get one of the brand new Honda Civics. And I went to the Honda dealership and I test drove it, and I really liked the car, and I tried to buy it, and like, well, the car you test drove is our loaner car for maintenance, and all of the Civics we have on the lot right now are already spoken for. They're already like down payment on them, and all the ones we have delivered for the next 2 months are also already spoken for. But if you want to get on our wait list, you can get one like at the end of December or beginning of January.
That's not going to work.
No, because I need the car like immediately. And that ended up being the story with everything. And used car prices are insane. Because like, yeah, you can't get a new Honda, but we have a used Civic on the lot with like 70,000 miles on it that we can sell you today. But they wanted more money for that than for a brand new car.
How does that make any sense?
Because that's the get it today price versus the wait 2 months price.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I did end up finding a car or a dealership with some cars, and I bought a car from them. I got a Kia Soul, which my daughter was very happy about, because when I had started car shopping like a month ago, just driving around dealerships, she pointed a Soul out to me and said that's what she wanted me to get. And if I had just listened to her in the first place, I could have saved myself a bunch of headaches and just got the car. Which I'm not like ecstatic about the car. It's not what would have been my first choice or even like in my top 5 choices, but it's what I could get. It's what was available, and it'll last me, a couple years or whatever until I can settle into something I like a little more. But between just how urgently I needed a car, because Carvana was coming the next day to take the car back, and I'm still thinking I would be in the market for buying a house in another month or two. Do you have a credit score in Australia, or is that just an American thing?
I am fairly sure I have a credit score, yeah.
Okay. You're aware of credit scores, but you don't know if you have one or what it is?
I am not sure of any number that applies to my credit rating or anything like that.
Okay. Well, it's kind of, it can make or break getting a decent mortgage, at least here in the US. And so I was really hesitant to was trying to avoid getting a big new car loan and all of that right before trying to buy a house. Cause even if technically you're better off because your loan's for less than whatever your last one was, the fact that you closed a loan and started a new one can still lower your credit, because even someone checking your credit score can lower your credit score. So going to dealerships and them checking my credit so they could give me a loan is going to hurt my score. And I didn't want to do that too much right before buying a house. So
that sounds a bit ridiculous. Why would, it's probably a topic for another day, but why would checking the score lower it?
I think the whole system is silly. But I think the idea behind it is that if a bunch of people are checking your credit score, it means that you're trying to get loans. And so to someone giving you a loan, if they see you've been shopping around and trying to get loans from a bunch of people, it could look like you're potentially putting yourself in a situation where you're not going to be able to pay everything off.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm not super well versed in it. I think it's a silly system. But anyway, so yeah, lots of concerns I was trying to juggle. It wasn't time I was happy to deal with it, but I did eventually settle into a car. And the highlight of it is it's a brand new car. So it's got CarPlay, which is a plus, and it's got wireless CarPlay.
Wireless CarPlay. Wow.
Wireless CarPlay, yeah.
Everything's come up Millhouse for you.
Yeah. I thought I'd be very indifferent to it, but I immediately fell in love with wireless CarPlay. Not having to take my phone out of my pocket every time I got in the car has been great. And honestly, the battery life impacts I was worried about from that has been very, very negligible.
Do you have any form of charging in your car if you needed to?
Yeah, I do. I still have USB ports I could plug into if I need to. And my car is like, I got like one of the lower trim levels of my car. So my car has a spot where if it was if I paid for a nicer package on it, there'd be a wireless charger in this spot.
Ooh.
But it's a big shelf that I could just put my own wireless charger on and plug into the cigarette lighter that's right there.
Perfect.
So yeah, I have the option to add that pretty easily if I wanted to.
How quickly does it connect to CarPlay wirelessly?
Instantly. It's insane. It's faster than my Ford pulled up CarPlay when I'd plug it in.
Oh man, like my plug-in is like up to 60 seconds.
Yeah, right. That was my same experience. But my car now, I turn it on, and I don't even see my radio screen at all. It immediately comes on to CarPlay.
Oh, what a dream.
Yeah, it's really nice. The only thing that's a little frustrating is sometimes there's latency on playing and pausing audio. So if I hit pause, it can take like up to 2 or 3 seconds for the audio to actually pause.
Okay.
But other than that, everything works well.
Probably a worthy sacrifice.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. And the only other concern I had with wireless CarPlay is that my phone would get warm in my pocket, like when I'm using GPS and it's connected and all that, but it hasn't warmed up at least a noticeable amount.
Hopefully the car's got a GPS for its own system and it's using that and preventing the phone from heating up.
That's another one of those things. It's like, yeah, if I would have got a nicer package in my car, it would have a GPS, but it doesn't.
So the car itself
doesn't have native mapping.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a pretty basic, like just a radio system, but it's got like a big screen on it, like an 8-inch screen for this radio.
Nice.
So, yeah, it works out pretty good.
And your daughter's happy, so that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's all that matters.
And the color? I know I saw on Instagram, but I can't remember.
It's black, which would not have been my
Ooh.
choice, but it's all they had, so.
Yeah. Well, you're heading into winter now, so you're not going to notice any heat penalties, color penalties until next summer.
I'm going to notice, black, just gets dirty so easily. So driving through all the snow and mud, it's going to be annoyingly dirty. So what about you? I see you put Apple Watch reincarnated. I have no idea what that means.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, probably a couple of months ago now, I dropped my Apple Watch, which had been replaced last October. Mm-hmm. So the one you gave me was replaced last October, and then it lasted a year, and I dropped it, and the screen fell off again. Right. And it has been reincarnated for the second time into a new Apple Watch.
You took it into the Apple Store?
Yes.
And they swapped it for you?
Yes. The story hasn't concluded because I don't actually have the new one in my hand, but the promise is that it's going to be shipped to me at no cost probably next week, early next week, if not already on its way to me.
And you walked in there and you told them that you dropped it and broke it?
No, actually. My game plan for these things is to say as little as possible and let them make the assumptions. So I handed the genius Ryan, who I actually have some form of rapport with because I've dealt with him in the past and he remembered that we've got kids the same age. Well, he looked at it and he said, it looks like the battery's swollen. And I was like,
oh, okay.
Really? Okay. And he said, well, that'll just be a battery replacement job then, which is 120 Australian. And I was like, well, that sounds reasonable to me. And then he did a few more diagnostics and he said, let me just go and talk to the manager. And then he came back and said, just paraphrasing, actually the 120 would have applied to a watch from America, which is what I can see in the system. But I can also see you had it replaced in Australia. So the Australian laws apply, and so it's a $0 job for that instead. So we'll send it off,
okay.
sign here, and give us your home address because some new system lets us just send replaced Apple Watches straight to home addresses now instead of having to revisit the Apple store and pick it up.
Wait, so are they repairing this one, or are they sending you a new one?
They don't do repairs, as far as I understand, on Apple Watches still. They just replace them.
Okay. Man,
So,
I can't believe even still. I was surprised a year ago they still had stainless steel Series 3 watches to send you. And now, that's incredible. They've still just got some somewhere.
Because they only sell the aluminium Series 3s now, don't they? They're still available.
Yeah, they've only done that for years.
Mm.
And they still had in the system somewhere that it was an American watch initially?
Yeah, they could see the full history of the watch. They knew everything about it.
And they just, okay. I mean, that's a win. That's kind of what we were hoping for, right? That they were just going to assume the screen popped off because of the battery issues.
Yep.
Man.
Yep. I didn't enlighten him to any of the real facts of the story.
I mean, maybe the screen popped off when you dropped it because the battery was swollen, and that drop is just the straw that broke the camel's back there.
All that internal pressure had been building up for months and months, and it was just ready for any small bit of contact to really pop the screen off.
I mean, assuming there obviously is an actual battery defect in that generation of watch, that they've been doing this warranty on them. You know, assuming they've got a stock of new old stock Series 3 sitting around waiting to replace things, they presumably all have that issue, and it's only getting worse from them sitting over time. So they actually all could be having battery swelling issues at this point.
Right, because the watch they gave me last year could have been produced 3 years before that.
It almost would have had to have been, because they haven't made them for years.
I wonder if I should look at just accepting this watch and putting it on the second-hand market. Although they don't really go for much, do they? I don't know.
I mean, you've got the benefit of, they still sell Series 3. And so if you've got a brand new one, you could probably sell it for at least what they ask for it, if not a little more, since it's the nicer case material.
Or I could just keep reincarnating this watch every year.
Until they run out and they have to give you a newer generation instead.
That's it. The free upgrade. All right. That's what I'll aim for.
Well, we got to get the Series 8 next year. We're both committed to that at this point.
Okay. I didn't realize you'd sign me up for that, but I'm happy to be on board.
Yeah, the squared off edges, that's going to be a big change. And they have to drop support for the Series 3 next year. It's already lived too long. Well, it feels like we should have already talked about it by now, but we've had a whole Apple event between now and our last show.
We should probably get on and talk about it, or we're going to be here for the rest of the day and night in your case.
Yeah, for sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The Apple Unleashed event. Many, many weeks ago. Could have been months ago. I can't remember.
Feels like it.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, I've had whole products from the event come and go from my life. Spoiler alert.
Uh-oh. Okay. I'm going to hold off on that. Sounds like a story.
All right. A short one. Apple Music, though. So a small new feature in Apple Music is there is now, asterisk, coming soon, a voice plan for Australian $5.99 a month. So what is that, $4.99 US? Oh, you've written it in the notes. Thank you. $4.99 a month for the voice plan.
Yes. So
for people, yeah, go on.
Yeah, it seems mostly targeted for people who have HomePods, because I can't imagine you'd want to pay for this controlling Apple Music only through Siri plan on any kind of device with a screen. But for those people that just have HomePods in their lives and maybe no other Apple devices, this now gives them access to Apple Music without having to pay for quite as expensive of a plan.
I can't see any other reason for this existing, really. My first thought was, this exists for people who aren't in the Apple ecosystem, but they have a Samsung TV with Apple Music on it. I don't even know if that's a thing, but this voice plan is only available on Apple devices and not on anything else that can run Apple Music. So that kind of just leaves the HomePod.
I mean, you can use this plan on any device, right? So you could have this plan on your phone or your iPad. It just would be pretty inconvenient.
Yeah.
And it seems weird and out of place, but there is a market for this. I know like Amazon on the Echoes have like an Amazon Music plan that you can subscribe to for cheap when it's just on the Echo. So Apple's not the first to this category. It just is weird.
As a thorough cheapskate, I considered if I could downgrade my family plan to the voice plan, but a few things held me back. Lyrics, so you don't get any lyrics on the voice plan. And it's not a family plan. So if I signed up for it, then Yasmin wouldn't be able to use it on her devices. I assume it would work for everyone on the HomePod, but not on her phone.
Right. Yeah.
And then a few others, like small bits and pieces. You don't get the lossless, you don't get the Atmos. I think apart from that, it's more or less the same.
Yeah. Things you wouldn't necessarily miss just on a HomePod Mini or something anyway.
No.
So, yeah, this makes sense for a small group of people, but yeah, not for us.
It could speak to more HomePod devices coming in the future, though, I think. That there seems to be like releasing a plan that's kind of just for HomePods. Maybe a HomePod Max or HomePod Pro with a screen or something. That's what I'm thinking.
If you had a HomePod Pro with a screen, though, then you would want more than just the Siri voice plan, I feel like, because that'd be the perfect device to have lyrics coming up on or something.
That's true. Maybe just screenless HomePods then in the future. Although Apple does seem to be pretty happy just with the HomePod Mini at the moment, considering, segue, that they've just announced some new colours for it. Still not out yet, but coming soon.
Yeah, I think this is a great move. The colors I'm just okay with. I would have maybe picked a green or something like that as well in this lineup, because they have added blue, orange, and yellow, which are at least seasonal autumn colors. Maybe this will be something...
Hey, they're not seasonal in half of the planet.
Okay, the correct half of the planet, this is seasonal. But maybe this will be something like their watch bands, where they have got like, different seasonal colors they offer or something. But makes perfect sense. With all their devices coming in colors now, something like the HomePod Mini that's meant to go in any room and fit the decor or the theme or whatever, offering in as many colors as possible, I think is a good move.
Although they're fairly bold colors to try and match someone's decor. Normally you'd go a little more subtle, but I guess it's not advertising itself if it's like a pale orange or a pale yellow.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think if you needed something subtle, white or black are probably still your most subtle choices. But yeah, I agree. Maybe some lighter, like some of the pastels from the iMacs or something, could have been a little more neutral.
Well, coming in November, so
yep,
that's that. Next up, AirPods 3 were announced. So the AirPods Pro had their little in-ear tips or flange removed and turned into the next generation of AirPods, with a few other bits and pieces such as spatial audio with the head tracking and water resistance as well, which is a huge benefit as someone with kids who like to eat or put AirPods in the toilet, both of which have actually happened to me.
And I think these AirPods 3 have a better battery life from the Pros as well.
Oh, better battery than the Pros as well. I didn't catch on to that.
I believe that's the case. Yeah, I think it's probably just due to the lack of like the noise cancellation. But these new AirPods get
that
6 hours of listening,
likely.
which is an hour more than the Generation 2 got.
And the case has MagSafe magnets in it, so it'll stick and place itself on a MagSafe charger correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pros also get that feature, so a small rev on the Pro case.
Yeah. And just for clarity here, the Pros get 4.5 hours. So AirPods 3 getting 6 is actually a significant boost over the AirPods Pro.
I thought the original AirPods only had 4 hours of advertised battery life.
That could be the case. But I believe they called out specifically that the threes got an hour more. Let me look. Yeah, It says on their website the threes get 5 hours of listening time. So maybe they, added an hour from 1 to 2 and another hour from 2 to 3.
That could have been it, yeah.
So, pretty significant increase overall.
Well, I watched the event maybe like 3 hours after it aired, and got a small shock when they said like, "Oh, these are orderable today." So I immediately thought, "Oh no, I've missed I missed the window." So I jumped online and bought the AirPods 3. Missed the launch day delivery by 2 days, which wasn't too bad. But they ended up turning up on the launch day, which was great. So despite missing it, apparently, I got them on the first day that they were available.
Yeah, I ordered mine immediately after the keynote, and just by nature of time zones, even though I got launch day delivery, you still got yours before me.
Yeah. How did you know that?
Because you had already tweeted about having the new AirPods before mine were even delivered.
Ah, okay. So I live in the correct half of the planet. Oh wait, no, the half of the planet doesn't make any sense in that case. No.
If you really want to have all of the new Apple devices before anyone else on the planet, you definitely live on like the right time zone at least.
Well, New Zealand would be optimal, but I think
right.
Yeah. GMT. Am I plus or minus 8? Man, that's embarrassing. I must be plus 8, right? GMT plus 8 for the win.
I don't even know what mine would be. UTC minus 6.
8. Oh, 6, okay.
Yeah, close. But you don't like them? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, to get to that. So, yeah, super excited for them. Incredibly excited. And, took them out of the box and put them into my ears. And, like, immediately I thought, oh, that doesn't really sit that well. Like, it wasn't immediately obvious how to orient them in my ears. But after, like, moving them around for a bit, I figured, actually, the stalk kind of is a lot closer to horizontal to get a correct fit than with the previous AirPods. So they seemed to fit pretty well at that point, and I was happy. But then before I get on to the 15 minutes later, they sound amazing. They sound so much better than the previous AirPods. I don't remember what the Pros sound like exactly to compare them to that, but definitely a huge improvement over the AirPods 1 and 2. But then 15 minutes later, I was just like doing something at my desk, and the right one just fell out of my ear.
Okay.
So, and I had like minor fit problems with the right previous AirPods. Like, it would never ever fall out, but it always was like a touch loose. So I guess there's something wrong with my right ear. But I fit the AirPod again, and then like 10, 15 minutes later, it just fell out as I was walking around. So I was pretty disheartened at that point. And I spent the rest of the day just trying to get like the perfect fit. Like, is it like, does the stalk need to be more horizontal? Does it need to be more vertical? Do I need to like kind of push the front of it into my ear a little bit more, or maybe out a bit? But no matter what I did, at the end of the day, it was getting pretty late, and I was just lying on the couch, not even moving, listening to something, and the right one just fell out of my ear onto my chest. I was very discouraged, and I just put them back in their box and returned them to Apple.
Oh, man.
I know. I'm so disappointed.
That is really disappointing because, I mean, unless maybe they will refine the shape again over the next generation, but if they don't, and all of their versions of AirPods now don't fit your ears well, it's only a matter of time before they stop selling the second generation, and you're just out of luck.
Exactly. I'm not sure what my options are now. There's only one model of AirPods that I haven't tried. And I'm actually contemplating the Maxes, because what else do I do? They don't fit my use case of being able to lie on one side. But I think I could probably forego that to have an AirPods that works for me.
They are really, really, really nice.
And although I think I said in a previous show I would never buy them new because They are crazy expensive. They are definitely on the secondhand market now, and
Okay.
at about 50% of the new price for, I think I might have even seen one that was brand new in box for like 60% of the new price. So
That's worth it.
it's worth it, I
without
think.
a doubt. Yeah. Oh,
So
man.
that's where my thoughts going for the future of AirPods for me. But it does seem to be a definite split in people who can wear the old design AirPods well and not have the Pros or 3s fit, and then vice versa as well. But yeah, how do they fit for you?
They're definitely different. The piece that rests in your ear is bigger than the last generations, which makes me feel less confident in their fit. But they've never fallen out. I'm just like, oh, this doesn't feel right. But I think it's just because I'm used to like 4 years of the old design. I haven't put them through their paces really yet. Like I've worn them around the house and I've used them for phone calls and things like that. But I haven't gone on any long walks with them. So I haven't really given them a full chance to see if they're going to fall out yet. But so far the fit has been okay for me, not an issue. As far as audio goes, I don't use my AirPods for listening to music. It's just podcasts and phone calls. So I don't have really a appreciable difference there. But what I will say is I've got mixed feelings on the new controls.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard quite a few people complain about tap to invoke Siri or to play or pause or whatever, and they said it was painful. I never thought that was painful to tap on, but the new stem, I appreciate the fact that the stem now has basically like the old button controls of their wired headphones. So you don't have to choose what does tapping my earpod do. You can have forward, backward, play, pause, invoke Siri all on that one control, just with your different number of clicks. However, it's not as convenient. Like it's really easy to reach up and tap my AirPods, but to find the little stem and pinch it, and then also not pull my AirPod out of my ear at the same time if I'm trying to do it while I'm walking or something. Mm-hmm. It's not as nice, I don't think. I think it's probably the better solution overall because it gives you access to everything instead of choosing one action that it performs. But I think I preferred the tapping.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly which is the way to go. I think the tapping was easier, but neither option's really that good.
So, yeah, I'll have more feedback as I get to use these and wear them some more. But it sounds like they're fit my ears at least better than yours because they haven't actually just come out on their own yet.
Well, you'll have to go for a jog and then report back.
Mm-hmm.
I did ask Yasmin to try the AirPods 3 while they were here, and she didn't have any issues with them. They stuck in her ears all right.
I mean, it's clearly just your ears at this point.
It's got to be.
Have you considered plastic surgery? Just get your right ear adjusted slightly.
Look, I think maybe some plastic surgery on the AirPods themselves. Maybe that'll actually happen. Maybe someone will come out with some sort of like mini case that doesn't obstruct any of the sensors or speakers on the AirPod just to help with the fit. But then you do have the problem of it not really going into the case as easily.
You could just take some sandpaper and reshape it until it fits in your ear nicely.
Yep. Sadly, I've already returned them, so it's just not an option at the moment. Probably for the best.
Is that what brought you into the Apple store to also get your watch replaced at the same time?
No, it lined up very well though. So I originally had my watch booked in for the Monday, but then I found out that they were going to have the new AirPods and MacBooks in, I think on the Tuesday, was it? So I changed the watch appointment to a Wednesday. The AirPods arrived on the Tuesday, so then it lined up so perfectly. Took the watch in, got it replaced, returned the AirPods, and checked out the new MacBook Pros all in one sweet visit.
Okay. Well, Speaking of those new MacBook Pros, should we move on and talk about these new processors?
Yeah, a Pro and a Max M1 variant.
So we were both wrong in our predictions for names.
No M1X or Z, hey?
Yeah, I will claim maybe a tiny victory because they did differentiate names, and you were under the impression that they were going to just differentiate by CPU or GPU core count.
I don't know if that warrants a point, but I'll give you a verbal
acknowledgement
props.
At least.
Acknowledgement. There you go.
So, well, these are not much of a revelation in terms of what they are. They matched exactly what the rumors have been for the last 6 months for what the Jade C die and Jade C chop chips were going to be. M1 Pros got 8 high efficiency or 8 high performance CPU cores with 2 high efficiency cores, and then up to 16 GPU cores. And the M1 Max has the same CPU with double the GPU cores. And then Pro has got up to 32 gigs of RAM, with Max doubling that again up to 64 gigs. And they both got a couple extra media and display engines for faster media acceleration and support for more external displays. So now M1 Pro MacBook Pros can have 2 external displays, and M1 Max can have up to 4 external displays.
Okay.
And these CPUs are put in some brand new MacBook Pros that ticked every box for every rumor for the last year.
It certainly did. It didn't tick all of our prediction boxes, but I think it ticked every want and need box for nearly everybody.
Yeah, for
sure.
So
2 models, a 14 and a 16. The design is said to be more squared off. I don't really see it. It's barely more squared off as the previous ones, but I think we're getting a tick for saying it's going to be squared off.
Yeah, I agree. It's minor. I think most of the squared offness comes in the lid and not the body itself, because the screen lid is definitely more angular, but the base still has those nice rounded corners on the bottom at least.
And it's certainly not like they've taken the iPad Pro and just squished 2 of them together to make a laptop. It's nothing like that design.
Right. Yeah, it's much more reminiscent of some of the old PowerBook designs, like the G4 titanium or the aluminum PowerBook G4s.
I was frankly quite shocked to see it. I think it looks, really old school, as everyone's been saying. Harkening back to those older laptops. It kind of looks a bit like a boat or a tub of ice cream.
Okay. I never once looked at the MacBook Pros and thought, that looks like ice cream, but...
the tub of ice cream. You can see it now, can't you? It's got the same
From the
contours.
shape?
Yeah, the shape of it.
Yeah, I get it.
The bottom case. I would say it's ugly compared to the previous ones. Although, I don't think many people would agree with me.
I think it's got its own aesthetic. It's leaning back more towards, like I said, Apple's older design language, where it's pro meant function over form, more so than it has in the last few years, where they've really heavily leaned into form over function to too much of an extent, and they've obviously admitted fault here and agreed that they've done that too much, and so they're reverting. But maybe they took too big of a step back in their design. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that. I like the design quite a bit.
I even thought maybe it's just the renders and the way the shadows are falling on it that's altering my perception of what it looks like. But no, even in person, it looks kind of exactly what you see on screen.
Right. Maybe this is just me as a vintage Apple computer fan. I really like the idea of having something that looks like an older computer by them, but with, brand new specs.
I think that's probably my only complaint though, so don't get me wrong. I thoroughly like the computer, especially now that it's got an SD card slot.
it's definitely in line with what they've done just with their whole computer lineup, or what they seem to be doing, which is revisiting old designs. So we got like the iMac comes in colors now. The Mac Pro a couple years ago went back to a big tower, and now their Pro laptops are going back to this kind of chunky design. It's all a rehash of what came before.
Yep. I suppose it doesn't really matter because the important, they're still pushing ahead with Apple Silicon inside the computers. So
right,
they're still pushing the boundaries.
And we do get the benefit of having waited a week and a half since the announcement before the show. Is we kind of get to hear how they've been performing, and it seems like, for the most part, depending on the task, but pretty much in general, these are the best laptops that you can get at any price point. And again, depending on the task, these even outperform some really high-end desktop computers for things like video encoding.
I think The Verge has already called it the laptop of the year. And there was
for sure.
There was some stuff from Affinity Photo, just based on the architecture of the graphics, where it's outperforming some high-end desktop graphic cards for the tasks that Affinity Photo performs.
Yeah, they had said that it outperformed, it was like a $6,000 graphics card. They said that these laptops were beating. So yeah, Apple continues to impress with their step into the silicon, at least computer silicon development.
So port wise, we got the SD card slot. It's an UHS 2 slot, which is fast. 3 is available, and you can also get hybrid CF Express and SD card slots, which isn't there. So everyone should be happy, but there is more that can be done. So we'll keep asking. Also,
never be
going
pleased.
along that, I know it's like that. That's technology, though. There's always something better.
Sure.
Continuing along that side of the laptop, which is the right hand side, there's then a Thunderbolt 4, which you can also use for charging, and HDMI, which I didn't think would come back because I didn't think they would have space, but lo and behold, there's plenty of space. And then around on the other side,
they made the room.
Yeah, they did. A headphone jack, which is more than meets the eye. Lots of audio mumbo jumbo, but it's high impedance, so there's something good about that. I think you can use it as a line out in some circumstances.
High impedance, yeah, for nicer headphones that maybe would otherwise require an external audio amplifier or a DAC. This new built-in jack can power them on its own now.
Is it pronounced impedance?
Impotence is something very different, James.
Is high impotence good or bad? I'm thinking
if you're
bad.
highly impotent, that's probably bad.
Impedance. Impedance. I don't know. I'll look that up later.
Okay.
And then continuing backwards, 2 more Thunderbolt 4 ports, and then the return of Magsafe. So we thought Magsafe was a thing that charged a phone. Oh wait, no, it was a thing that charged a computer. Oh wait, no, it's both.
But does not deliver Ethernet.
A big fail from my prediction there. No Ethernet over power.
I think that would have been a nice thing to add. Maybe it'll come in the future.
The other end of the Magsafe is USB-C and detachable from the power brick as well. Apparently there were complaints about that end fraying or failing, but personally I never had any issues with either end of the Magsafe cable on the older computers.
Yeah, I'd never had issues with older generations of Magsafe either, but I never had issues with their old headphone cables or lightning cables fraying, and lots of people did. So people who treat their cables more aggressively than me, I can see them also having MagSafe issues as well.
I like that. More aggressively, not poorly. And this MagSafe is really strong, like strong enough apparently to pull the computer across the table if you are just pulling like directly out. You can't do that with the old MagSafe 2 connector, but still detaches easily if you just pull it like straight up, or, you know, if someone's tripping on it, hopefully it's not gonna, it'll just pull the cable out of the computer.
Right, yeah. Anything that's not exactly perpendicular to the port, it'll easily come out still.
Still charging via the Thunderbolt connectors as well?
Yeah, very nice that they offered both options there for charging.
But there is a fast charge available on the 16-inch, and that can only be done via MagSafe.
Right, yeah. To be clear, both laptops can be fast charged, but the 16-inch laptop needs so many watts to fast charge that the current standard of USB power delivery can't deliver that, so it has to be through the MagSafe port.
Okay, I've misunderstood. So the 14-inch can fast charge, but
it can fast
be
charge
via
through
Thunderbolt.
Either, yes.
Ah, right, okay. That's nice to know.
Yep. But if you want to fast charge 16, you need to use MagSafe.
Gotcha. I forgot to mention something about the HDMI port. It's only a 2.0, I think, instead of the slightly newer one.
Yeah, I'm not super well versed on what all the differences are, but it's a 2.0B port, which I think is significant differentiation from just 2.0.
Okay. So, again, good but not the best, kind of like the SD card port.
Right. Yeah, room to improve.
Heading up to the top now, we have a new screen with a notch. Another tick for you.
Did you not say that it was going to have a notch? Oh, you said it wasn't. That's right. Okay. Man. Yeah, that one was a real risk because that rumor had come out, just a few days prior from someone who had no credibility whatsoever.
But you know how it goes. The closer you get to the event, the more reliable the rumor is going to be. So I think you played that well.
Yeah. But like I said at last show, just going off of the screen resolution, it made sense with those extra few pixels they'd put at the top of the display that they would do something like that.
So the screen is 16 by 10 if you take away the height of the notch, but then it's a little bit bigger, a little bit taller with the pixels to the side of the notch.
Right. Yeah. So I've seen people complain about the notch. I mean, a lot of people complain about the notch, but it's hard for me to see it as anything other than a win because the notch isn't cutting into your real estate at all. Your screen is only expanding upward. So not only is the notch not cutting into your content, but now the menu bar is also not interfering with your 16 by 10 display window. So you've got even more room for your content than ever.
And the mouse will travel underneath the notch. It's not going to bump into it. It doesn't seem all that elegant to me, but then neither would bumping into it. So I don't know it doesn't feel like the correct solution has been achieved.
Right.
Maybe the cursor needs to grow outside of the notch, like to a size where you can see it underneath the notch no matter what.
At its current state, it's got some weird behavior because the usual case is, like you said, where the mouse cursor will just move under the notch as if there's display there that's just being obscured. But if you open an application that has a lot of the, I don't know what you call these, the drop-down tabs, if you've got so many that it extends past where the notch was, and you are moving your mouse along the menu bar, and you get to the edge of the notch, it will just immediately snap to the opposite side. It will not travel underneath. So it has different behavior in different situations. Yeah, I mean, they're going to fix a lot of these. There's quite a few bugs that have been reported recently about some content showing up under the notch and things like that. All of that's going to get polished and removed fairly quickly, I'm sure. And a lot of the bugs we're seeing now has to do with the fact of how secretive they are, and they don't have any references to the notch in any of the beta OSs, so they couldn't really do any development around it. And so now that it's public knowledge, they can really clean it up. But yeah, having to hack solutions around this notch is obviously less ideal than just not having the notch.
Yeah, but the size of the bezel at the top of the screen is apparently just too small to fit any sort of webcam in, even if you don't have to worry about Face ID, because that's something the computers don't have.
Right.
It just has a 1080p webcam with it has a bigger sensor, doesn't it? And a True Tone sensor.
So yeah, I'm torn here. Either they really just couldn't move the webcam up a little farther, which seems odd to me, but maybe I'm just not picturing how big it is actually. Or maybe they anticipate adding Face ID in a future generation, and they didn't want to have to make the notch bigger when they did that, so they just made the notch the size they need now in anticipation of a future generation of this laptop having Face ID in that location.
The top bezel is a lot smaller than you think. It does look like it would be a struggle to fit a camera in there.
Okay. So, I mean, I'd usually understand that, but from the renders I see on the website, it's so squared off. If the lid tapered towards the edges, that would make more sense to me. But as I'm seeing it, it seems like it shouldn't make a difference.
And what's engineering for if not to make something smaller to fit somewhere?
Yeah.
No center stage either, so...
Yeah, I assume that's also a thickness limitation. They probably need a much bigger sensor to have center stage.
All in all, a little bit disappointing when it comes to the camera assembly and all that stuff up the top there. But not to take away from the screen, which is amazing itself. So it is a Liquid Retina XDR display.
Right. Yeah. Their mini LED technologies made it into these laptops, and apparently is even much better than what we saw in the latest generation of iPad Pros. Because all the reports I've seen so far say that the blooming concerns people had is basically non-existent on these laptops. So whatever blooming issues the iPad Pros had have already been... either there's a lot more local dimming zones on this display, which I don't know the counts to compare against, or they've just fine-tuned their technology in the last year.
And it actually beats the 6K XDR because it has ProMotion now, up to 120 hertz.
Right, yeah. It has ProMotion and more local dimming zones. So in a lot of ways, this actually beats the XDR.
I think this is totally a cherry on top because a lot of people would have been happy without ProMotion on these computers.
Right, yeah. Yeah, this is really just can we give everyone everything they've ever asked for in these computers?
There has been a bit of hubbub about exactly what supports the ProMotion. Because a lot of the demos was scrolling Safari, and yet, as of the latest version of Monterey, Safari is still at 60 hertz apparently. Although, yeah, I'm trying to get to the bottom of it all, and someone will say, "Oh no, it's at 120," and someone will say it's at 60, and then someone will say, "Oh, but if you run Edge or Chrome in a Windows VM, you can get 120," and yeah. I think it's kind of similar to the whole software notch support, that these things are just going to be refined over the coming months.
Yeah. Yeah, if it doesn't have it now, it definitely will. That's an obvious place for this 120 to be. I think for the most part, this will behave similar to how 120 on the iPhones have been this year, which is just... for basic things like scrolling, the system will implement that automatically, but there's going to be some developer work needed to get full high refresh rate support in these applications going forward.
I'm just looking down our predictions list. So, touch bar we haven't mentioned as well, or lack of touch bar. So the keyboard had a slight revision. It's now on a black background, so dark keys on a dark background. Touch bar has been replaced by full height function keys. And
to my disappointment,
and very few other people's disappointment.
It does make my computer a very special computer. My M1 MacBook Pro is probably going to be the only Apple Silicon computer ever made with a touch bar.
Yeah, right. You should hold on to that thing.
It could be a collector's item someday.
That's it. You just need to find a collector.
If only I knew someone.
Yeah.
So
Go on.
I was gonna say, as far as Mac's configurations go across the board, our predictions were dead on that they had to match the existing Intel configurations for them to justify these new computers, and they did it, both with 64 gigabytes and 8 terabytes of storage as the max configuration options. So that was a big win, and they even matched our minimum configurations with 512 gigabytes being the minimum storage options.
Lovely. Ticks all around.
Yeah, so we were dead on with those predictions.
So, in summary, you predicted the notch correctly, which I didn't. You predicted HDMI in addition to the other ports. I didn't. And I predicted Ethernet over power, which didn't come. So, yet again, the prediction game falls in your favor.
Just barely.
That's all you need.
All right, make it 2 AirTags. Maybe I'll get a whole 4-pack at some point.
Maybe you will. I did move mine to the car, away from my keys now.
Okay, I put one in my car too, my extra one that I had sitting in my office.
Did you put it in the Honda or the Soul?
It's in the Soul. That would have been fun to put in the Honda and see where it went, though.
Yeah.
I just have to accept I'm never getting that AirTag back.
No, probably not. How did a crashed up car make it through Carvana's checks? Surely they've got some people that know about cars there.
I mean, it depends on how much credit you want to give them. So, because you're right, surely they have some people that know about cars, but do they have honest people? Because maybe they have people that know enough about cars to go like, yeah, this has been in a wreck, but a regular person won't notice, so we can still sell it and it'll be fine.
Yeah, okay. And I guess you didn't notice straight away. It had to be your dad that pointed it out, so
right,
you could have been banking on someone not having an experienced parent.
Yeah. Most people who aren't as fortunate as me to have a dad who's like an actual car repair estimator as a profession.
Oh, actually, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, other people I'm sure wouldn't have picked up on some of the things that he can.
We didn't really finish talking about some of the features of the MacBook Pros, did we? A few other bullet points to go over.
Yeah, a couple other nice to have things they threw in there.
Audio related, studio quality mics,
which
speaker
they've said for the last couple generations, but apparently even more studio quality than whatever the last ones were.
Yeah, you could definitely tell the difference last time between an actual studio mic and the MacBook.
Mm-hmm.
6-speaker sound system, so 2 more woofers, I think, than previously. And they are force cancelling, so they are phase offset, I believe. Something like that.
Those words all sound familiar.
Okay, cool. Good. Battery life, 17 hours on the 14 and 21 hours on the 16, and that's watching video in the Apple TV app with Wi-Fi off and brightness at 80%, I think, and keyboard backlight off, most importantly.
Is that really the biggest battery drain?
No, I was being sarcastic.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it is worth noting there's been some interesting battery comparisons, because you can get the M1 Pro chip and the M1 Max chip in either size of the MacBook Pros. And apparently the Max does consume more power than the Pro. So a 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro will get better battery life than the same computer with the M1 Max in it. Because even just in an idle state, the M1 Max consumes more power. So it's not just when you're using those extra GPU cores.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's not insignificant either. The Wall Street Journal review, they did a battery test on the Max, and instead of 21 hours, they got 17. And then they did the same test on the Pro because I believe they took that finding to Apple, and Apple sent them the computer with the Pro chip, and it did get 21 hours. So, yeah, looking at like 3-ish hours difference.
Right. I mean, which 3 hours is a big difference, but talking between 17 and 21 hours is still industry-leading battery life by a wide margin in computers like this. So when we're used to talking like 4, 5, 6, ish hours, maybe up to 10 in ideal circumstances, like this is still way, way better than anything we've seen before.
Yeah, put that against it. This is just watching a video test, so it's probably similar to the new iPhones that you can watch videos for kind of till the end of time before you run out of battery. When you're actually using it for normal stuff, I think we're still looking at more like 6-7 hours.
Yeah, especially when you think about the professional grade stuff that these computers are made to be doing. Because if you still want to just do web browsing or casual stuff, the M1 computers still get way better battery life than these M1 Pro and M1 Max computers.
Yep.
So the M1 is significantly more efficient, and unless you're doing things like, video production or high-end photo editing or things like that, I still would recommend the M1 to like 90% of people.
Yep. Exactly. The Pro in the name of the chip is like, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, more so than ever.
A little bit confusing.
The Pro computers are more pro than they've ever been.
But you can get a Pro without a Pro. But you can get a Mac with a Max.
Yeah, not a huge fan of the names.
Have you got anything else on the new MacBook Pros?
I will say that my feelings going into the keynote before seeing them was that I would not want or need these computers because I've been so satisfied with my M1 MacBook Pro. And now that the keynote is over, I was half right. I don't need them, but I do want them. And
I could have predicted that.
Yeah. I probably could have if I was being honest with myself as well. But not so much that I'm going to be tempted to purchase one anytime soon. I think the biggest draw for me is actually the design, because the performance of my current computer is already everything I could ever need. So I just want the new ones because they look neat.
I've added a new row to the prediction list. Does David want it? Tom says yes. David says no. And I scored an extra point on that. That brings me one closer to you.
All right. All tied up.
I can't sympathize when it comes to wanting one for the looks, really, but I do want one for the performance. And the screen. Performance and the screen. And the battery life.
I think I saw recently that Lightroom Classic got optimized for M1.
Yeah, sure did.
So maybe all your issues will be resolved on the existing M1 chips.
I need to give it a go. I think I'm going to be saving up for a long time, though.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'll probably get the 16-inch.
Okay.
Just because I do kind of use the laptop as like my everything screen, like my TV and my work and a bit of everything.
Okay.
16 gigs for me would be like the bare minimum, because I'm pretty sure it'd be a computer that would last me a long, long time. So I think I'd aim for more like 32 gig.
I think that would be the correct choice, yeah.
Yeah. I think you just probably want to future-proof this machine, and it will last just on and on and on. So chucking a 32 core GPU, and then suddenly I'm looking at, in Australian dollars, almost $6,000.
Well, how many terabytes of storage are you going to put in that?
Oh, that's with the 2TB upgrade already. So,
okay.
Again, bare minimum 2TB there.
And you said that's 6,000 Australian?
Yeah, 5,849.
Wow, that's an extra 2,000. Like it's 3,899 in US dollars for that same configuration.
And direct conversion of 5849 Aussie is 4,400 US dollars. So I guess we take off. Is your figure including tax? Because I could easily take off 10% for tax straight away.
Oh, that's true. Our tax calculations are done after the fact.
Yeah.
Let me look.
Pretty equivalent then.
Yeah, 4,300. So yeah, a couple $100. That's not as egregious as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about yourself?
I'm a big fan of the smaller laptops. So if I was to build a configuration that I'd get today, it would be the 14-inch with a maxed out M1 Pro, because I don't think I need the Max for anything. Most of my professional work I do is more CPU intense than GPU. But I would want the full Pro with no parts broken on it, so I'd have to do that. I'd get the 32 gigs for the same reason, future proofing, and then 2 terabytes. So my configuration is actually pretty comparable to yours in terms of price. Because if let's see, add tax here, that would be whoa, okay. I have your laptop in there still. My cart was $8,000. Okay. So about 3,600, 3,700. So a bit more reasonable, but I'm a bigger fan of small computers.
So that's the Christmas present to yourself?
No, definitely not.
No.
Maybe if I didn't need to be buying a house in a couple months.
Next Christmas then.
Yeah. We'll count on it. We'll see what they have rolled out in the next year. I'm anticipating any year now, I'm going to have to spring that much money for a pair of Apple glasses or something, so.
I hope you've got a bucket set aside for that you're slowly depositing into.
Yep.
Well, I'm James VDM on Reddit and Twitter.
And I'm Jellywoot on Reddit and Twitter.
And the show notes are at reddit.com/r/the_r_apple_show.
So if you do go all out and you get a 16-inch laptop, I think you'll be set in computers for many years to come. Which you'd better hope for that amount you're paying.
I would guess for like 7 years probably. Just a rough estimate.
I mean, how old is the MacBook Air that you've got floating around now?
Oh, Yasmin's on the Air. It's a 2014, 2015 model. Okay. I couldn't use hers though because it's only got 4 gig of RAM, which would kill me.
Yeah,
I know. But my MacBook Pro is the 2015 model, although this one wasn't produced until 2017, so that gave it a few more years of legs.
Okay. So yeah, if you're getting that many years out of the Intel computers, I bet these Apple Silicon ones will last at least as long.
Yeah, and really it's a great computer. I'm not pressed to upgrade it. Performance is actually fine. It's just that when you're looking for performance, you're also drowning out all the other noise in the house as the fans spin up.
Right.
And battery life is also pretty poor, but that's just Intel chips in a less than new laptop.
I wonder how long your sentiment of the performance being okay is going to last now, because the performance boost on these new computers is so significant, and if developers start targeting these computers as whatever their performance benchmark, the Intel computers are going to really struggle to keep up.
Yeah.
So I think you probably only got a year or two left before big professional applications start feeling really sluggish on there, and it's only a matter of time before Mac OS itself starts to struggle a bit because Apple's moved on.
Yeah, well, 1 to 2 years is firstly all I expect, and secondly, plenty of time to save up the, what was it, $5,800?
It's a business expense. You can tax write off or something.
It's still my money though.
Yeah. So, well, maybe they'll have Man, I don't know. Maybe the M2 MacBook Airs will be so compelling you don't even need a Pro.
That's a question. Do you think the ports are coming to like the airline? I would say no.
I think for the most part that's probably true. I feel like MagSafe should come. I think every other port is probably, they could call that a Pro thing. It's like, oh, only Pros need SD card ports, whatever. But MagSafe is such like a convenience factor. I think that should come to all the computers.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. I've got my all-in-one hub that I plug my laptop into. Those extra ports, I wouldn't use an HDMI or SD card port ever. So for me, it doesn't make a difference.
I think the writing's on the wall for the ports coming to the big iMacs as well.
Yeah, seems like it has to. I mean, I don't think an iMac's going to get an HDMI port, but I guess an SD card slot and maybe a couple USB-As? Like, what would they add?
Well, SD card slot for sure. Yeah, you're right. HDMI probably wouldn't make sense. I guess nothing else.
I guess.
A high impedance headphone jack. Impedance. Jeez, I got it wrong again.
All right. Highly impotent. That sounds like a show title.
I'm literally writing it down. All right, here are the options. Mm-hmm. High impotence or correct half of the planet.
I'm definitely putting my vote for high impotence.
All right. Chosen.
And that's over our generic October event show title that the episode would usually get.
Oh, no, yeah. Doesn't actually need a show title, does it? Or maybe I can just double barrel it. October event 2021, high impotence.
There you go.
That's it.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump off and get back to my daughter.
Yeah, do that. I've got a school fete to get to.
A school fete?
Fair? School fair?
Fair. Okay. Did you say fate? Is that a word?
It is a word, yeah.
I never... Like
really?
F-E-T-E?
F-E-T-E, and the E has a hat on it.
And... What? Okay, in what language is feet a word?
English. Go to Wikipedia, type in
English
F-E-T-E.
doesn't put hat over their letters.
Well, in my English it does.
A traditional public festival. Okay. Teaching me things.
Apparently it's French, or from French.
Well, have fun at your feet.
Fate. Thanks.
Right.
See ya.
Bye.